Familiar pain can feel like love when your body already knows how to survive it. That is the part that makes it dangerous. He did not have to reject you loudly. He only had to make you feel hungry in a way you recognized. Maybe it started in a room where nothing obvious happened. He was there, but not fully with you. He answered just enough to keep the conversation alive. He smiled at the right moments, then pulled back before anything became clear. You felt the shift before you could name it. And instead of stepping away from that uneasiness, you leaned closer. You studied his mood. You adjusted your voice. You tried not to ask too much. When he gave you a little more attention, your chest loosened, as if something important had been returned to you. That relief fooled you. It felt deep because it reached an old place. It felt like chemistry because it made you alert. It felt like home because you already knew the work of trying to be chosen by someone half present. But look at what was actually happening. A man was giving you enough warmth to make the hunger louder, then enough absence to make you chase the warmth again. He may not have planned it that way. He may not have sat there deciding to hurt you, but the effect was still real. You were not choosing rejection because you wanted pain. You were moving toward a kind of love that asked you to prove yourself before you could rest. That is why the smallest signs felt so powerful. A softer look, a better evening, a sudden moment where he seemed closer. You did not only enjoy those moments, you used them as proof that the hard parts meant something. And this was the trap. The familiar ache made the connection feel important. Not because it was reliable, not because it was enough, but because some part of you already knew how to live inside that ache. The excuse was not simple. You did not just say, "He is busy," or "He needs time." That would have been easier to challenge. The excuse you used was quieter. You told yourself the pull meant something. You thought, if this feels this strong, it cannot be empty. If one look from him can calm you down for the rest of the evening, then there must be something real under the distance. If his attention can change your whole mood, then maybe the ache is part of the connection. That is how the hunger kept you explaining his distance. There was a moment when you already knew. You were sitting across from him, trying to explain something small that mattered to you. He listened at first, then his face went flat. Not angry, not cruel, just gone enough for you to feel yourself losing the room. You noticed it. Your words got shorter. You stopped telling the full story. You reached for the easier version, the one that would not ask much from him. Then, when he became warm again later, you let that warmth erase what had just happened. You called it a complicated connection. You told yourself this was how deep things felt. Intense, uneven, hard to explain. You said he had a way of getting under your skin, as if that made the pain more meaningful. You treated the pull as evidence, even when his behavior kept asking you to shrink. But the pull was not proof that he could love you well. It showed that his distance had given your hope something to keep chasing. And because it felt familiar, you kept giving the connection a better name than it had earned. You called the tightness in your chest chemistry. Relief after distance became a sign, and the need to win him back began to feel like a bond. That excuse allowed you to stay in a place where you were always reading the air. It allowed you to accept a man who felt powerful in your life without being steady in it. The truth is, this was not just a strong feeling. It started taking over ordinary parts of your life. You could wake up after a normal night and already feel him in the room, even when he was not there. Not because he had done something clear, because you did not know where you stood. Your mind reached for yesterday's tone, the look he gave you, the way he turned away before the conversation finished. Then your day began around that question. At work, you were present enough to answer, but not present enough to feel steady. You read the same line twice. You missed what someone said because part of you was still back in that room with him, trying to decide whether you had imagined the change. Around friends, you left parts out. You did not want to explain why you were upset over something that sounded small when said aloud. So, you made it lighter. You said, "It is fine," even while your stomach stayed tight. You laughed at the right time, then went quiet when no one was looking. This is what familiar pain does when you mistake it for love. It makes you manage yourself for him. You started checking your own face before seeing him. You worried that too much excitement might scare him, visible hurt might push him away, and honesty might change the room again. So you entered slowly, watched him first, and waited to see which version of yourself was allowed. That is a cost, not a dramatic cost, a daily one. The kind that shows up when your sleep is lighter, your appetite changes, your choices get smaller, and your peace depends on whether a man who is unsure of you happens to feel warm today. He did not have to call it rejection for your life to start bending around it. You already knew the ache. Because it felt familiar, you kept treating it like something to solve, instead of something teaching you to keep accepting less. You stayed because the hunger did not feel strange to you. It had a shape you already understood. There is no shame in that. You already knew how to wait, read the room, lower your needs, and feel grateful when someone finally softened. So when he gave you half of himself, you did not immediately see danger. You saw a chance to finally make that kind of love turn toward you. That is why one warm evening carried so much weight. Maybe he sat beside you and softened. He asked a real question. He remembered something you thought he had missed. For a while, you did not have to pull anything from him. The room felt easier. Your body stopped preparing for the next change. In that moment, it made sense that you believed. You were not inventing every good thing. Some of it may have been real. He may have had tenderness in him. He may have cared in the way he knew how. But care that appears only after you have been starving does not become enough just because it feels powerful when it arrives. The power came from the contrast. When you had already been feeling unsure, even a small amount of attention could seem larger than it was. One softer moment felt like proof that waiting had been worth it, because you had learned to treat warmth as something you had to earn. But a home should not require you to live on alert. A connection can have feeling in it, and still not be livable. A man can have moments of softness and still leave you doing too much emotional work alone. The good parts do not erase the way you had to prepare for the bad ones. This is the part to hold, without turning it into another excuse. You stayed because the ache made sense to you, but familiar does not automatically mean safe for your life now. The step is not to argue with the feeling. The feeling may still come. You may still feel pulled toward him on a quiet night. Not because he has become clearer, but because the old hunger gets loud when things feel unfinished. It may tell you to look for one more sign. It may tell you this is rare. It may tell you that walking away from the ache means losing something important. One way to see the pull more clearly is to place it beside one smaller question. The question is not only, do I still care? You may still care. The more useful question is, what did his behavior make me do? The answer brings the feeling back into ordinary life. It made you measure your words. It made you wait for his mood before you could relax. It made you treat a soft evening like proof, even after many unclear ones. It made you feel chosen for a moment, then hungry again. That question shows you what the feeling was making you accept. Not because it removes the feeling, it may not, but it puts the feeling beside the facts, where it cannot pretend to be the whole truth. Picture the ordinary moment. You are about to reach for him again, or make room for him again, or explain away the same absence again. Before you do, you stop long enough to name the ache. This feels familiar. Then you look at what followed it. Did it give you rest, or did it put you back to work? Did it make your life steadier, or did it make you study him again? You do not have to hate him to see it. You do not have to deny that some moments felt real, but you can stop letting familiar hunger choose for you. You can let the ache be present without handing it the next decision. That is where space begins. Not in a speech or in proving anything to him. It begins when you stop calling the pull love only because it feels familiar.